Hello everyone, my name is Nilanjan Chatterjee and today we are going to discuss the later Vedic period starting from 1000 BCE to 500 BCE. Okay, we'll be discussing about society, culture, politics, economy and all the other aspects of later Vedic period. Okay, so far we have discussed Indus Valley civilization, the decline of the Indus Valley civilization, the Aryan invasion theory. In the previous video we talked about the early Vedic age. If you've missed the video, please go and watch. It is there in our channel, and share your thoughts regarding our videos. Before I come to the main discussion, let me tell you one thing. We have started with our admission program. If you are interested to join Universal Group of Institutions, feel free to check our website. We have BA, BSc and BCom courses along with UPSC training programs. And for PU students, we have Universal PU College with CLAT and CSAT trainings. Okay, so here we come to our main discussion. The later Vedic period, okay, that starts from 1000 BCE. The later Vedic period witnessed significant socio-political, economic and religious transformations, setting the stage for early state formation in India. Okay, in the previous video, I think if you have watched it, you'll find a particular portion of that video where I discussed that how from the later half of early Vedic period, we were moving, human civilizations in India were moving from kinship, that means families, to kingship, okay, that means monarchy. That means, on the other hand, we were moving from lineage to state. So this transition is well explained and well elaborated in the later Vedic period. If we study later Vedic period carefully, we will be able to understand this transition that took place from kinship to kingship, from lineage to state. So in the very first slide, we can see settlement patterns. Okay, the shift from early Vedic to later Vedic is evidenced by changes in settlement patterns moving from nomadic to more permanent dwellings. As we have already seen, in early Vedic period, people used to live a nomadic life. Okay, they used to roam around from place to place. Now, we've already noticed that early Vedic people, their main profession was pastoralism. Although we see some other activities like agriculture, but they were secondary. Their primary activity was pastoralism. They were mainly pastoralists. Now from later Vedic period onwards, we are seeing a transformation from pastoralism to agriculture. And that is why from these nomadic, people, and that is why these nomadic people are moving towards permanent dwellings or settlements. Okay, they are looking to settle down, okay, on the basis of agrarian activities, agricultural activities. The second point is governance. Political authority became centralized. In the early Vedic period, there were decentralized sabhas and samitis which are getting consolidated, and those decentralized bodies of power are getting some kind of centralized structure in later Vedic period, with the Shatapatha Brahmana detailing the expansion of Kuru Panchala dominance. Okay, these were the two tribes which became prominent in later Vedic period. One is Kuru and the other one is Panchala, which is referred in the Shatapatha Brahmana. Okay, this is one of the very well known Brahmana texts of later Vedic period. Apart from that, religious practices. The Taittiriya Brahmana emphasizes the rising significance of elaborate royal sacrifices. For example, yajnas, signifying the shift from tribal chieftains to divinely sanctioned monarchs. Now, the tribal chieftains were not solely reliant on yajnas. But when we are moving towards a monarchical society, the rulers, for example, if I am a king, why would you obey my commands? Okay, why would you follow my commands? So I have to somehow portray myself as something supreme. Okay, I have the ultimate authority to govern you. Okay, so what gives me that legitimacy? For some historians, these yajnas, okay, these yajnas used to give the ultimate legitimacy to those rulers, okay, who are looking to consolidate powers, okay. So which means these yajnas became a major instrument for the kings to legitimize themselves, okay. And that is how practices like yajnas became instrumental to kingship, okay, for kingship. So the second point is social structure. Aitareya Brahmana describes the social stratification that reinforced the hierarchical Varna system. We'll be talking about the further complications of the Varna system, but all we can notice in later Vedic period is that the early Vedic period, we see at least three Varnas, okay? Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. But in later Vedic period, we see emergence of other Varnas. We'll be discussing that later. But apart from that, further complication of the Varna and a subdivision of Varna that is emerging in later Vedic period, which is jati. Okay, so a further complication of the caste order, okay, the Varna order, which we can see in later Vedic period. Geographical extent of later Vedic culture, this is also very important. Western Uttar Pradesh and Haryana, the Kuru Panchala region became the political and cultural nucleus as detailed in the Shatapatha Brahmana. Okay, so Shatapatha Brahmana is a very important text that we have already mentioned a couple of times. Okay, next is Eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The Videha kingdom, which is modern Bihar, emerged as an intellectual and religious hub as described in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad we see Videha, which is located in Bihar, emerging as an important center. Gangetic plains, which is also very important. Increasing reliance on agriculture and sedentary settlements is noted in the Taittiriya Samhita, which means in Taittiriya Samhita we see agricultural settlements are increasing rather than just concentrating on pastoralist activities. The later Vedic people are moving towards agriculture. They are deciding to live a lifestyle based on agriculture. And where do you get more and more agricultural resources? Of course, the Gangetic basin, the Ganga, Yamuna, Doab. Okay, that is why if you look at if you watch our previous video, you'll be able to find that we've discussed how Ganga, Yamuna became important rivers during Vedic period, particularly in the later Vedic period. Political organizations in later Vedic period, first of all, we have already discussed monarchical transformation from tribes and tribal heads. Chiefdom, largely speaking, we are moving towards monarchy, where a proper king will govern or rule its subjects or his subjects. Okay, with Aitareya Brahmana stating that the king was a representative of Prajapati. Okay, royal officials, the Ratnin, the royal officials, played a key role in governance as mentioned in the Shatapatha Brahmana. Okay, the Ratnins played a key role in governance. Ritual reinforcements, this is also very important, ritual reinforcements. Rituals like Rajasuya and Ashwamedha, both of these were basically yajnas. Okay, reinforce the authority of rulers as described in Shatapatha Brahmana. So Shatapatha Brahmana shows how these yajnas like Rajasuya and Ashwamedha were practiced by kings in order to get political legitimacy or socio-cultural prestige. Okay, you are sacrificing your horse. Being a king, you are sacrificing your spatial possession, that is your horse, to get what? To get legitimacy, so that your subjects follow you, they obey your commands. Okay, so that is very important. Early state formation, the rise of the concept of Rashtra. Okay, that means a state, not a nation, but a state, a territorial, I would say polity, indicates, yes, a territorial polity indicates early state formation as found in Aitareya Brahmana. A knowledge that is religious and textual. Okay, that has to have a textual tradition. Okay, the Brahmins controlled religious and textual knowledge as well as rituals. Okay, Kshatriyas emerged as rulers and or warriors. Okay, who would fight. Okay, who had the potential, who had the authority of become a ruler. The Vaishyas were engaged in agriculture, trade and artisanal works. Okay, a group of people who were directly involved in monetary activities. And the Shudras, who used to perform manual labor. Okay, mainly the Shudras were basically the rest of these three, categories. Okay, the rest of the people. Okay, now the later Vedic society was highly stratified. As we can see, it was divided like a pyramid. The society was highly stratified with rigid Varna system, because the Brahmins, since they were in possession of all the textual and religious knowledge, they also had the authority of dictating over the Kshatriyas. How? Because the Kshatriyas somehow need validation. What kind of validation? For example, a Kshatriya becomes a ruler. Now once he becomes a ruler, he needs validation. How does he get the validation? He needs to perform a yajna. Isn't it? Now who will perform the yajna? Because being a Kshatriya, you do not have access to the textual knowledge. You do not have access to the religious knowledge. Then how can you perform yajnas? Then the Brahmins will come and help you to perform yajnas, right? So this is how they were interdependent, the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. The Vaishyas, again, since they were like a group of people who used to deal in money, they had an automatic upper hand over these Shudras, okay, who were at the bottom of the mode of production. Okay, if we classify the modes of production in later Vedic period, the Shudras were at the bottom. Okay, they were at the grassroots. The concept of jati, that means subcastes, became more pronounced, leading to increased occupational differentiation and reduced mobility, as detailed in different brahmanas. Okay, so since these classifications and stratifications started taking place in later Vedic period, we see crystallization of these castes, okay, these varnas. So the Brahmins have their own occupational and I would say socio-cultural, rigidity. The Kshatriyas have their own occupational boundary. The Vaishyas have their own socio-cultural boundary, so that they won't allow the Shudras to mingle. So which gave birth to crystallization of the Varna system, and simultaneously to different subcastes or jatis. Okay. Now we have come to the point of Chaturashrama, the 4 stages of life. Okay. So being a Brahmin, okay, being the possessor of knowledge, what do you want to do? How do you live your life? So you start with Brahmacharya, okay, which is your student life. When you learn, okay, the scriptures. During your student life, you don't realize the message or the preachings which have been delivered to you. Okay? You just learn blindly. Then you come to Grihastha. That means your householder life. Okay? So you live a family life during this phase, during the Grihastha phase. Okay? And then you retire. You come to Vanaprastha. Okay? You come to Vanaprastha in the 3rd stage of your Brahmin life, when you basically come back to what you have been taught during your Brahmacharya. Okay? And you try to realize everything that you have been taught during your Vanaprastha phase. That is your retirement from family life. Then the final stage is renunciation. Okay? After you realize what has been taught to you, you renunciate. Okay? You leave all your worldly belongings, including your home, your house, your family, and live a secluded life. Okay? A celibate life, like a sannyasi, which is basically sannyasa, the 4th stage of your ashrama life. Okay? Which is renunciation. The Chaturashrama system discussed in Dharma Sutras and elaborated in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad structured life into 4 stages. Okay? This system reinforced Brahminical ideology, emphasizing duty at different life stages. That means it also tells you what is your capacity in the 4 different parts of your life. Okay? 4 different stages of your life. Okay? How to hold yourself together in these 4 parts of your life. I think it is clear. Condition of women in later Vedic period. We see a declining status of women. Women's status declined. They were increasingly excluded from education and religious rites, as stated in the Aitareya Brahmana. And marriage institutions. Marriage became institutionalized with emphasis on patrilineal succession as per Apastambha Dharma Sutra. So marriage becomes a patrilinear institution, which means it solely depended on the wish of the pater, that means the father, okay, and his son. And when the son becomes the father, on him, then his son. So it became a patrilinear system, okay, where the men had the ultimate say. Social restrictions, child marriage and restrictions on widow remarriage became more common as prescribed in the Manusmriti. If you look at Manusmriti, you'll see how women are restricted from different aspects, from different activities, okay, they are prevented. Exceptions, some educated women like Gargi and Maitreyi engaged in philosophical debates. I think we had already mentioned in our previous video recorded in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, okay, where we see Gargi and Maitreyi constantly having debates over philosophical matters, which gives you an image of empowered women discussing about philosophical discourses. Anyway, Economy and agriculture in later Vedic period. Agricultural advancements, particularly iron tools, which was called Kala Ayas, black iron, enabled extensive farming and surplus production as referenced in Taittiriya Brahmana. Okay? Land ownership, private land ownership became widespread, replacing communal land systems as inferred from Shatapatha Brahmana. Okay? And trade expansion. Trade networks expanded with reference to caravan trade and maritime exchanges in the Brahmanas. Okay? In Brahmanas, we find trade networks, how they expanded, a mention of these things. Okay? Then proto-monetary systems. Early currency included use of Nishka and Satamana. Okay, Nishka and Satamana were the early currency, the proto-monetary currency that we can find in later Vedic period, particularly used by the mercantile communities and especially the Vaishyas, okay, which is mentioned in the Shatapatha Brahmana. Okay, religious practices and philosophical developments, Brahminical order, concept of dharma, Upanishadic philosophy, karma and moksha. These are the 4 important points. Brahminical order, consolidated power through elaborate yajnas, I've already mentioned it, which is mentioned in Shatapatha Brahmana. The concept of dharma evolved from Rita or cosmic order, which emphasized moral, social and duties in general. Upanishadic philosophies introduced monistic ideas challenging Vedic ritualism, particularly in the Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay, and early concepts like karma and moksha laid the foundation for later Hindu and Buddhist doctrines as formulated in Upanishads. So these 2 things, karma and moksha, okay, so these 2 philosophies can be found both in the in other religions as well. For example, in other heterodox sects, including in Buddhism and Jainism, these notions are very prominent. So we can understand, we can conceive these as derivations or developments. So we can say that these were derivations from the Upanishadic notion of karma and moksha. Okay, material culture and technological innovations. Iron technology, I've already mentioned about superior tools, weapons, etc., important for warfare, because now in later Vedic period, humans were looking forward to make settlements, and they were also maintaining some top-down political order like a monarchy. For both these things, you need agriculture and warfare. Okay. Painted greyware culture. So later Vedic culture is often known as the painted greyware culture, signified advanced pottery traditions found in archaeological evidence. Okay, don't forget this, the painted greyware culture, which is often identified with the later Vedic period. Okay, urbanization began with walled settlements and fortified centers, as noted in the Shatapatha Brahmana. Now we have come to the conclusion. That is, the later Vedic period was a crucial phase in Indian history marked by state formation, caste consolidation, religious evolution and technological advancements. Okay. On the other hand, we see changes like crystallization of caste system, okay, complication or further complicated scenario in the socio-political order, okay, and also the cultural, symbolisms, the cultural significations, they are also changing through the course of time, particularly during the later Vedic period. Okay, the developments during this period significantly influenced the later developments in Mahajanapadas from Then from later Vedic period, we are seeing later Vedic period is creating the bedrock. Okay, it is establishing the bedrock for Janapadas. Okay, Janapadas, primarily the Janas, then the Janapadas, and finally the Mahajanapadas. Okay, so these polities are created, and what is creating the bedrock for these polities? Okay, that is the political institution in the later Vedic period. It is creating the foundation for these Janas, Janapadas and Mahajanapadas, okay, as larger political institutions or territorial institutions. Thank you very much. That is it for today. If you have any query, any doubt, any question, please feel free to ask. If you do not like the video, even that you let us know. Thank you very much for watching.